What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today it's the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Florida Panthers. It's Paul Maurice's return to Winnipeg for the first time since stepping down last December, almost an entire year ago. And yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to hop right into this one. Yeah, so right off the bat, obviously Paul back in Winnipeg, and you know, he's a polarizing figure. A lot of people loved Paul, a lot of people hated Paul, and I want to talk about this right away before we get into the actual game. This is my take on Paul Maurice. You know, when he was hired, he was the right guy for the job, and he led the Jets from being a pretty garbage team when they first, relocated to Winnipeg to being a really great, playoff pushing team. And they made the playoffs there in the 2014-15 season. And then, they made that deep push in the 17-18 season. And then they started to flounder, right? But he turned that team into a little bit of a joke and really, brought the team up from really the basement. That team was terrible. And I'll forever be thankful for Paul for that and everything like that. He did a great job with the team right up until the end of the 17-18 season. And then, things started to unravel and the Jets lost to the first round to the St. Louis Blues. And at that point, it was kind of an underwhelming season. I thought he might get fired, and then he didn't, and maybe he should have. So to no fault of his own, I think Paul, maybe just lasted a little bit too long, overstayed his welcome here in Winnipeg. But, obviously give him the standing O as he got tonight for all the work that he did from getting that team from being pretty bad to being, a really good team. But with all that said, Paul was here too long, and there should have been a change before that. And you're just seeing it this year with Rick Bowness and how well he has those guys moving. But that's just my take on the situation. Let's get on into the game. The last few games, the Jets really haven't been playing that great right out of the gate, and today was totally different. Today they were jumping all over Florida. Obviously, Florida doesn't have a lot of their big guns as Barkov, Hornquist, Lundell. They're all hurt. They had a ton of injuries on the front end today. However, Jets don't care about that. They jump in right away. Mark Scheifele scoring the game's first goal. That must feel pretty good. Him and Paul have been rumored to have a pretty rough relationship, and he hasn't shied away from throwing subtle jabs Paul's way, and we're going to talk about that more later. Yeah, but Scheifele scoring on the power play. Do not miss the Paul Maurice penalty kill. God, it's terrible. But yeah, Scheifele on the power play, his 14th of the year, big goal. But less than a minute later, it's Carter Verhaeghe on their very own power play scoring, his 15th of the year, and it's a 1-1 game. Then later on, not even 30 seconds later, Kyle Connor scores his 9th. Sick feed from Pierre-Luc Dubois in front, sends it over to Connor, Jets up 2-1. The Jets wasted no time in the second period, as it's Kyle Connor again, second of the game, 10th on the year, from Pierre-Luc Dubois. Another really beautiful pass from Dubois. Those guys play so well together, and it's 3-1 Winnipeg. This would end Spencer Knight's day, and in would come Sergei Bobrovsky. And Bobrovsky, he came in, he did his thing, but he couldn't stop Mark Scheifele from scoring his 2nd of the game and 15th on the season on the power play. Yet another one for Winnipeg. They had 2 power play goals in this one, both scored by Mark Scheifele, actually, assisted by Connor and Schmidt. So Connor has 3 points, Dubois has 3 points. Really great game from those guys. And now we head into the third. Florida's pushing for that goal, and they get it. It's Zach Dalpe, his first game as a Panther this season. And now it's 4-2. Now the Jets, they're being a little bit lazy out there. However, they shut it down. Adam Lowry, with just over 3 minutes remaining in the game, sends it into the empty net. His 5th on the season. What a year Adam Lowry's having, by the way. And that would seal it, 5-2 Winnipeg. And that's all she wrote. Connor Hellebuyck having another big game, 41 shots against, only 2 goals allowed. His Vezina Buck season continues. Big fan of this guy. What a night for the Jets. Felt really good beating Paul Maurice in his return, and we spoiled that return big time. And yeah, so the Panthers aren't having the greatest year ever. They're 12-10-4. 5th in the Atlantic, and they are doing themselves no favors right now. Obviously, they are really banged up. Sasha Barkov not in there right now. But wow, has that Florida team fallen off? They look just like the Jets from a couple seasons ago, just wildly inconsistent, no structure, and yeah, I wonder what changed, right? But yeah, so Paul Maurice as head coach of the Panthers, I don't think is going too well, personally. You can blame it on a lot of things, but he's definitely not helping the situation there. One thing I want to touch on is a quote by Mark Scheifele after the game. He was asked about, his feelings about beating his former coach, and man, he did not hold back at all. The quote reads, when he was asked about how he felt about beating Paul Maurice, "I'm not going to lie, that was a good win in my books. Pretty happy with that one. We're a different team this year than last year. It's been exciting for a lot of us. You see the rejuvenated faces in the room." He then went on to say, "Bones has been on us each and every day, whether it's been a good game or a bad game. He's always looking to help us. I think that it's awesome for me. It's awesome for a lot of us. We're just being pushed and being challenged to reach our full potential." And you don't know how goddamn good that feels, man. The Paul Maurice thing just wasn't working here the last 3 years for Winnipeg, and it's been incredibly evident throughout this last year with how much Rick Bowness has come in and totally changed the culture of this team. I'm so happy that the Jets were able to make that change. It took Paul Maurice stepping down for it to happen, but wow. What a night and day difference between the two coaches, and I'm really happy that Rick Bowness is here. He's just done so much for this team. He's unraveled a lot of the damage that Paul did with him and his coaching staff. Don't forget about Charlie Huddy in there either. He was horrific too, but really happy with how things are going. The Jets are number 1 in the Central right now, tied for first obviously, but they do have 2 games in hand on Dallas, and hey man, this is a different team than last year. This team is fun. They got to keep it right on the gas though. They got to keep it moving. I'm really enjoying Jets hockey right now. This feels really good. Last thing I want to touch on before I get out of here is I want to talk about Matthew Tkachuk for a minute. Matthew Tkachuk is a guy that is very skilled, and obviously he's a pest out there, and that's his game. But man, sometimes he takes it too far. Today he spears Brendan Dillon, and then Dillon has to go to the room because he's hurt, and then Dillon challenges him to a fight once he comes back onto the ice, and he runs away and doesn't do anything. And it's like, come on, man. You can't spear a guy and then just skate away like nothing happened. And obviously that's his thing. He's trying to get under the skin. He's trying to get the other team to take a penalty. But it's really evolved since he was drafted into his reputation. Like even earlier this season when he was putting his stick in Jonathan Quick's mask. Like, come on, dude. Just stuff that needs to be looked at, and he's a repeat offender. We all know what he did to Mark Scheifele in that play-in series, and I believe that was the 1920 season in the bubble, and just so many other things, countless things. But one thing that I will say about Brady Tkachuk is Brady, he's a tough dude, man, and he doesn't take nothing. I don't like either of them, but at least Brady will drop the gloves and he'll stand up, he'll answer the bell. But, Matthew's just a coward, and that's how he's been for his entire career. It's nothing new, but I just wanted to touch on that today because a guy that I haven't talked about a lot that I think the player safety needs to close in on a little bit more. He does stuff like this already. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I think already he's done, something questionable. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I just think that he's a player that player safety should be looking at more. I don't care if he's a guy that's a star in the league. If you got a guy that's running around intentionally hurting guys on the ice, then yeah, you've got a problem, and I think it needs to be looked into more. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Felt really good beating the hell out of Paul Maurice and the Panthers. It was like therapy. Felt really good. The Jets' next game is on Thursday against the St. Louis Blues, and then Friday on the back-to-back against the Chicago Blackhawks. So 2 big games coming up here for the Jets against Central Division opponents, but that is where I'm going to leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed the wallop by the Jets over the Panthers today, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great night, everybody. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.